Hey guys, this is for lesson 2.1. We finally made it to chapter 2, and it's gonna be a little bit different type of notes video than what you're used to having because I'm not in it, just my voice. And I'm gonna do a screencast with you, and I'm going to work through your notes outline. For the most part, you're gonna have to do a few at the end by yourself, so we can just get to it. You are a member of a health and fitness club. The club's registered dietitian and your personal trainer helped you develop a special 8-week diet and exercise program. The data in the following table represents your weight, W as a function of time, T, over an 8-week period. And then in your notes you have a table there where we talk about time in weeks going 0 through 8, and then we have weight in pounds on the second row. So we need to plot the data points using ordered pairs of the form TW. For example, when we talk about that first point, 0, that's our T, and 140 is our W. So our ordered pair would be 0, 140. So that's the first one I'm going to plot. And then the second one is going to be 1, 136. My third one, 2, 133. And then 3, 131. 4, 130. 5, 127. 6, 127. 7, 130, and 8, 126. I want you guys to plot these points and make your graph as well. As you can see, I went up by 3s on my y-axis, and I went by 1s for weeks in my x-axis. And make sure that you label each of your axes, what they are. All right. What is the practical domain of this? And remember that our domain is our x values. So from left to right, what is our domain? Well, we're going to talk about our practical domain, and it's at these points. It's at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So our domain is those 9 points exactly. So our domain is, I'm going to put it in a set, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. What is our practical range? Well, and now domain was from left to right, so range is from top or bottom to top. So what's the lowest point that we have on here? It's 126. And what is the highest point that we have on here? Is 140. So I'm going to say that my practical range is going to be all real numbers between 126 and 140 because my weight could have been anywhere in here, in between 126 and 140 during this diet period. So range, all real numbers between 126 and 140. What was your weight at the beginning of the program? So we look at week 0. When we first started our first weigh-in, my weight is at 140. What was your weight at the end of the first week? So we looked at the end of week number 1, and my weight was at 136. So to see how the health program is working for you, you decide to analyze your weekly weight changes during the 8-week period. During which week does your weight increase? So you can see here that the weight had an increase during the 7th week, because at the end of week 7, my weight was higher. So that is the 7th week. During the 7th week. During which weeks does your weight decrease? Here, it's decreasing, 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 decreasing. It did not decrease between weeks 5 and 6. So, or it did not decrease during week 6. So my weight decreased from the beginning to the end of week 5. And, because I'll be right here, this is the end of week 5, and then my weight decreased during week 8, because it decreased from 7 to 8. So from the beginning of the program to the end of week 5 and during week 8. And then during which week does your weight stay the same? Well, during the 6th week here, because from the end of 5 to the end of 6, my weight stayed the same. So during week 6 is when my weight stayed the same. Okay, so we're going to get into talking about the average rate of change. That is the point of this lesson. So determine the actual change first of all, your weight decreases during each of the first 5 weeks of the program. Determine the actual change in your weight over the first 5 weeks of the program by subtracting your initial weight from your weight at the end of the first 5 weeks. So if you look back here, my initial weight was 140, and I'm going to subtract that from my weight at the end of the first 5 weeks. And at the end of the first 5 weeks, my weight was 127. So we can go 127 minus 140, and that's going to give me a change of negative 13 pounds. It's very important that we put our sign there. It's very important that we say it's negative 13 and not positive 13. Because what is your sign? Positive or negative? Like I just said, it's negative. Why is that important? Because it's showing that our weight decreases. Determine the change in the t-value over the first 5 weeks. That is from t equals 0 to t equals 5. I don't even have to look back to see this because these are our t-values. How did they change? 5 minus 0. It changed by 5. Write the ratio of the change in weight from part A, that was from the previous problem, to the change in time in part C. Interpret the meaning of this ratio. So we said earlier that we determined the change in our weight. We said that was negative 13, and we're going to put that over, it was over a 5-week period. And what does that ratio mean? It means that we lost 13 pounds in 5 weeks. 13 over 5, we lost 13 pounds in 5. So like I said, this says we lost 13 pounds in 5 weeks. This is saying that dividing our change in weight by the change in time, that gives us an average rate at which we have lost or gained weight over a period of time. This is what we're going to call average rate of change. And so what is average rate of change? Simple enough. It's finding the rate something changes over a period of time. In this case, back up a second, we lost 13 pounds in 5 weeks. And if you divide that out, so that's 2.6 pounds per week. Because I can divide 13 by 5 and get how much I'm losing per 1 week. And along with average rate of change, there's a thing called delta notation. What is this? What does it signify? Well, delta notation is the uppercase Greek letter delta. And that's this guy right here. This is a Greek letter called delta. It is used with a variable's name to represent a change in a value of a variable. So when I want to say the change in W, I would say delta W, meaning the change in weight. So delta, right here, that means change. It represents change, okay? That's what we need to know. And so using delta notation, determine the average rate of change of weight over the last 4 weeks of the program. And so I'm going to have delta W over delta T. And that's going to equal, I want to find the average rate of change of weight over the last 4 weeks of the program. So I have my delta W over delta T, my change in weight. I went from 126 to 130. So 126 minus 130, and the last 4 weeks of the program, well, the last week would be 8, 4 weeks previous would be 4. So that gives me, if I simplify it, 126 minus 130 is negative 4, 8 minus 4 is 4. Simplify that, that gives me negative 1 pounds per week. That was my change in weight. Our next problem says, on the graph in problem 1, connect the points 0, 140 and 5, 127 with a line segment. I did that right here. 0, 140 and 5, 127. Does this line segment rise, fall, or remain horizontal? Well, we read graphs from left to right just how we read anything from left to right. And we can see that this line segment is falling. Recall that the average rate of change over the first 5 weeks was negative 2.6 pounds per week. what does the average rate of change tell you about the line segment drawn in problem 8? Well, the line segment falls because the average rate of change is negative. The average rate of change indicates that the line segment is falling 2.6 units for each 1 unit increase in time. Determine the average rate of change of your weight over the time period from t equals 5 to t equals 7. And we need to include the appropriate sign and units. So we're talking about delta W over delta T, because we're talking about our change in weight over the change in time. Delta W over delta T, change in weight over the change in time. All right? Our change in weight from weeks 5 to week 7 was 130 minus 127 from week 7 to 5, which gives me 3 over 2. Divide that out, 1.5 pounds per week. Interpret the rate in question 10 with respect to your diet. So we need to interpret this with respect to our diet. It's saying that the rate of change is positive, because we don't have a negative here now. That is indicating that a weight gain occurred. We averaged a 1.5 pound gain per week. So then it says on the line graph, or on the graph in problem 1, connect the points 5, 127 and 7, 130 with a line segment. Does the line segment fall, rise, fall, or remain constant? Because this is what we were just talking about. These are the 2 points we were just talking about, and obviously the line segment rises. So how is the average rate of change over the given 2-week period related to the line segment you drew in question 12? Well, the line segment rises because the average rate of change is positive. The line rises 1.5 units for every 1 unit increase in time. Look back at that. It rises 1.5 units for every 1 unit increase in time, which means that it rises. And now, finish out the notes. And then if you finish your notes during class, please start working on your assignment, which is posted on the last page of your notes. Have a good day.